0 o'clock. Imagine the White House late at night, long after the business of the day has ended. The great building is silent, wrapped in a cold, swirling mist. Inside, a solitary figure walks the halls, a man carrying the weight of a divided nation on his shoulders. This is President Abraham Lincoln. But tonight, it's not the war that occupies his mind. It's a dream, a vision, so vivid and unsettling that it chills him to the bone. Lincoln was a man of logic and reason, but he was also deeply superstitious, fascinated by the world beyond our own. He believed in signs, omens, and the power of dreams. His wife, Mary Todd, held seances right here in the White House, attempting to contact their deceased son, Willie. For Lincoln, the veil between the living and the dead often felt thin. He confided in his close friend and bodyguard, Ward Hill Lamont, about a particularly haunting dream he had just days before his death. Lamont would later recall the president saying, "It seems strange how much there is in the half-real world of dreams." This dream was different. It felt less like a dream and more like a premonition, a glimpse into a future he was not meant to see. 1:30, according to Ward Hill Lamont's account, published after Lincoln's death, the president described falling into a deep sleep and experiencing a death-like stillness all around him. He could hear the sounds of subdued sobbing, as if a great number of people were weeping, but he couldn't see anyone. He got out of bed and began to wander through the White House, moving from room to room. Still, silence. The weeping continued, seemingly without a source. He saw light in every room, but the halls were empty. It was a baffling and eerie experience. Where were all the people who were mourning so pitifully? He kept searching until he arrived in the East Room. And there, he saw it. In the center of the room was a catafalque, a raised platform upon which rested a corpse wrapped in funeral clothes. Around it stood soldiers acting as guards, and a crowd of people stared sorrowfully at the body. "Who is dead in the White House?" Lincoln demanded of one of the soldiers. The soldier's reply sent a shiver down his spine. "The president," the soldier answered. "He was killed by an assassin." Lincoln told Lamont that the loud burst of grief from the crowd in his dream was so intense that it woke him up. He couldn't shake the feeling. He shared this terrible vision with Mary Todd, just a few short days before that fateful night at Ford's Theater. The dream had become a grim rehearsal for reality. This wasn't the only omen that seemed to foreshadow Lincoln's fate. Not long after his first election in 1860, he saw something strange in a mirror at his home in Springfield, Illinois. As he lay down on a lounge, weary from the campaign, he glanced across the room and saw his face in a looking glass. But he didn't just see one reflection. Two distinct and separate images of himself, one beside the other. One was his normal self, but the other was a ghostly, pale imitation, what he described as like a dead man's face. It startled him. He got up, the illusion vanished. But when he lay down again, it reappeared. He told Mary about it, and her interpretation was immediate and unsettling. She believed it was a sign he would be elected to a second term, but that he would not live to see the end of it. Beyond these visions, his personal letters reveal a man plagued by ugly dreams, especially concerning his youngest son, Tad. Now, we must ask, how reliable are these stories? The primary source for the assassination dream is Ward Hill Lamont's memoir. Some historians question its complete accuracy, suggesting Lamont might have embellished the story after the fact to create a more dramatic narrative. It is a classic historical problem. When a story is told after the event, it's supposedly predicted. It's hard to verify, but whether exaggerated or not, these stories paint a picture of a man deeply anxious about his own mortality and the constant threats against his life. 6:30. So what do we make of all this? Was Lincoln truly psychic, or was his mind simply processing the immense trauma of his time? Let's look at this through a modern psychological lens. Lincoln presided over the bloodiest conflict in American history. Death was a constant companion. He signed death warrants, read casualty lists, and walked through fields of wounded soldiers. The weight of that grief is almost unimaginable. Psychologists today understand that extreme stress, grief, and anxiety can profoundly influence our dreams. It is not supernatural to think that Lincoln's subconscious was working through the very real and constant threats on his life. From a Jungian perspective, his dreams could be seen as his psyche's attempt to process the archetype of death which surrounded him both personally and nationally. He was the father of the nation, and the nation was tearing itself apart. Then there's the human tendency to find patterns in chaos, especially in the wake of tragedy. The Lincoln-Kennedy parallels are a famous example of this, a long list of eerie coincidences. Connecting the two assassinated presidents, we seek meaning. A premonition feels more profound than a random act of violence. It suggests that a life as significant as Lincoln's couldn't just be extinguished by chance. It had to be written in the stars, foreseen in a dream. 8:30 on the final day of his life, April 14th, 1865. Lincoln was reportedly in a cheerful, almost buoyant mood. The war was over. He was looking forward to rebuilding the nation. As he prepared to leave for Ford's Theater that evening, he spoke to another of his bodyguards, William Crook. Crook felt a sense of foreboding that night and pleaded with the president not to go. Lincoln brushed it off. Bottas left. Crook later claimed the president turned to him and said, "Goodbye." Crook found this odd, as Lincoln's usual parting words were a simple good night. It was as if, on some level, Lincoln knew this was a final farewell. Whether it was a prophetic dream, a psychological manifestation of stress, or simply a collection of embellished tales, the story of Lincoln's final dream has become an inseparable part of his legend. It transforms him from a political figure into a tragic hero, a man who foresaw his own sacrifice for the nation he saved. He was a man who, in his final days, walked with his own ghost, fully aware of the shadow that followed him. In the end, the dream's power isn't about whether it was real, but about what it tells us about the man who had it. A leader haunted by death, yet walking bravely toward it. Thank you for joining me on this journey into one of history's most chilling mysteries. What do you believe? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy exploring the hidden corners of the past, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.